2 hours, NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. We got Will and Andre and Roth taking you guys home as far as crunch time. And that's an hour and 25 minutes away. Myself and the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. It's TJ Zwarch. TJ, how are things in your world? We got a 7-gamer. We're kind of sort of somewhat in a holding pattern thanks to Steve Kerr. I like Steve Kerr. I really like Steve Kerr as a person. Don't like Steve Kerr today. They're playing games in Golden State. They're giving fake body parts to Steph and the Draymond. And I was told last night they're not going to play allegedly. Like they're probably going to sit. At least most of them are going to sit. And why are we going to do half measures? We know Clay's out, obviously. He would, combust if he plays on a back-to-back. Yeah. TJ, what's up with you? Yeah, and I'm just world's smallest violin for content creators doing the Warriors stuff, working double time, triple time today. Were you? I assume you're on some content, right? You're probably a little tilted with the Warriors as well, or is that just me? Maybe I'm easily irked.
Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't irked about it today. I am a little sleepy because that news happened when I was hoping to crush a little bit of a nap in, and I was on expert survey today as well. But that's all right. I did morning grind last night with Stevie. We kind of anticipated something like this. As it stands right now, I'm going to build as if Steph and Draymond are going to sit. Do I know that's the case? Absolutely not. But just kind of as we're going right now, the value is going to be so good if it's there, and there's just really not all that much of it right now elsewhere. And so I'm gonna be playing that Golden State value, assuming it's there. And if it's not, I'll just make pivots later in the night.
In Vegas, for what it's worth, seems to think they're going to sit. It opened at 9.5, which already looked goofy, and then word came out pretty quickly that it's likely we're going to have some rest. Obviously we know Clay is going to rest, and then word came out last night, and it went all the way to 12, and then it dipped a little bit. I saw like when the questionable stuff came out about an hour or so ago, it went down to I think 10 or 10.5. It's back to 12. So I think that the market seems to think very strongly that the Golden State Warriors that you know and love are not officially going to be playing tonight in Denver. 12-point line currently. Back-to-back in Denver, historically a really tough place to play as is. But, yeah, and it's also, of course, a 9 o'clock game, which makes things a little bit trickier. And just, come on, giving these guys these body parts. Like, why are we playing games here, TJ? We're all adults here. We understand what's going on. Just admit what you're doing. It's fine. Lean in.
Maybe Adam Silver called them and said, look, we need to sell some tickets in Denver tonight. I hate to do this to the fans, but it is what it is. We live in a capitalistic society. Markham is questionable until later in the night. Until people are already at the stadium.
I mean, if they're hurting, for money in this league, that they got to sell an extra 1,000 tickets in Denver, which, by the way, the game's probably sold out. Like, this is a marquee game. If you look at the season, look at the schedule. Like I'm a Denver fan. I'm going to go to 5 games this year. I'm probably isolating this game. Let's watch Steph and Jokic. It'll be a good time. So it's probably already sold out. But the secondary market is hurting. And I don't know if Adam Silver cares about them. But yeah, I don't know. We can go to ESPN.com where it shows the games that are being played. For some reason, it has probably because they have a deal with Ticketmaster or whatever. There's a link that says buy tickets to the game for this much. That's, I guess, secondary stuff as well. Tickets for Golden State Denver as low as $33. This is wild, by the way. And I know the service fees are all nonsense, and we'll get into the basketball in a second. But so how much do you think the cheapest ticket for the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Clippers, which, by the way, back half of the TNT doubleheader, this is sort of weird. The locals are getting screwed. It's 10 o'clock this game's being played. Is Milwaukee Central or Eastern? But they're definitely playing at a funky time just to make it work nationally. The cheapest ticket in Milwaukee tonight is how much? Well, what say you? Before all the nonsense add-ons.
$87.
Okay, you're thinking loonies and I'm talking American dollars. How many American dollars? Because
I have no idea. 12.
Four. For $4 American dollars. Again, this is before they hit you with all the nonsense fees. But yeah, just to get in the building. There you go. The most expensive ticket, by the way, looks like New York. That's not surprising. Miami versus New York. And Indiana, surprisingly enough, that's the Lakers. I guess that's not too surprising. $77, the cheapest ticket available for the Pacers. Also, they get to see their boy Halliburton come back. They were struggling, Indiana, in the absence of Halliburton. It's almost like he's a really, really good basketball player. What's up, chat? Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all the things, get comfortable, join the conversation. Yeah, we have it's 7 games, right? I meant to confirm this, by the way. I assume it's a non-issue, but there was a chance that the Pelicans wouldn't be able to make it to Dallas. I guess they made it to Dallas. I assume they're there. Otherwise, we would have heard by now, because obviously, what the Pistons were stuck there for 3 days when it gets cold or when it snows. Dallas just they can't figure it out, or I don't know if it does. I don't know how it doesn't work well. So New Orleans was having an issue getting in there, but I assume they have arrived. Central time, according to the chat, by the way. So 9:00 is their local time. Still pretty late start. It's a school night, man. I assume it's a school night tomorrow. I don't know if there's a holiday of some sort. TJ, what do you have as far as the overview of this slate? And again, it's really, really tricky. You said you're sort of building one way in the hopes of. But obviously, the Golden State stuff looms over this slate. We thought earlier today that Steph and Wiggins and Draymond were all going to be out. Now, Steph is questionable with a shoulder, air quotes. He did have a shoulder injury earlier in the year, for what it's worth. Draymond's got a foot, and Wiggins has no designation. So I guess he's going to play, but stay tuned. It just seems weird. And Poole, by the way, he got hit pretty hard last night. He's not been good. He's been the guy that's kind of been shining in the absence of everybody, or at least, obviously it's all the usage. Not great efficiency-wise, but yeah, that's what looms over the slate. What else is worth noting before we kind of do the old game-by-game deal?
Just kind of that it's interesting that we have Luka, Giannis, Jokic all playing together, all on the same slate, and it's only 7 games. Due to that fact, with those 3 guys that are all really expensive, all with gigantic upside, it makes me want to play kind of hoping as if these Golden State guys are going to be out. I'm planning as if these Golden State guys are going to be out. Running 150 lineups on DraftKings today. They allow you to build lots of lineups with Luka, with Giannis, with Jokic, sprinkle in some LeBron and AD. And so that's kind of how I'm planning to go about things right now. And then if that doesn't work out, well, then I'll just make lots of pivots to Denver and play an uncomfortable amount of Reggie Jackson stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it depends when that news comes out. 8:30 is Dallas versus New Orleans, a half hour before. I have to think we'll know Golden State before 8:30, probably before 8:00, possibly some point during the show. I don't know. How long are they going to play this game for? There's a 99% chance that Kerr knows, right? If they're in or they're out. There's no we're going to.
I don't think we're going to know before lock.
Yeah, I'm just saying Kerr knows. That's the part.
Yeah.
Of course they know. Okay. So there's one game at 7:00. If you're thinking about building out, there is 2 at 7:30, 1 at 8, 1 at 8:30, 1 at 9. So we'll see. We'll see when we get it. And then of course, it goes without saying, but if we happen to get all those guys ruled out, then who do you have right now? You set in as far as your most rostered Warrior? Is it Jordan Poole? Is it Ty Jerome, who's 3K on DK, still a minimum? Of course, he's super reliant on Steph being out. Where do we stand right now?
Yeah, so as it stands, it's Jerome, then Kuminga, then Poole, then DiVincenzo. That is basically all based on those guys would have to be out, though. There is kind of some value in that same game that I don't mind taking shots on. I don't think it's crazy today with that spread to get overweight on a guy like Bones Highland, who, if that is going to be a blowout, maybe gets 20 plus minutes today. If he gets 20 plus minutes today, he'll probably have 30 plus fantasy points. So interested in taking some shots like that, getting to a lot of Luka, a lot of Jokic, a lot of Giannis, and 90% Jerome, 70% Kuminga, 70% Poole. And obviously a lot of that is going to have to change if Steph Curry and Draymond Green are ruled in.
Are you aware what is going on with Bones Highland right now?
Yeah, I mean, not in Denver and all that.
He unfollowed Denver apparently on Twitter. There's tons of rumors out there that he's going to be traded. They're going to move him to upgrade somewhere else. And, he's a young player that, they're not necessarily they can use him as a chip to get somebody else, right? And I saw it floated out there like FVV, Freddie Van Vliet, like something like that. Who knows? Some kind of package. Big night for him last night for your Raptors and FVV. I'm curious where you're at as far as your Raptors, because they're like the 6th worst team in basketball. It was kind of surprising looking at their I guess that was at 4 yesterday, but still, they've not been good. They've underachieved for sure, and they've overachieved in the past, I guess you can say. But yeah, if you buy into the whole like showcase game thing or angry bones or what, he's got to get in the court first, and he played 5 minutes last game, which is a problem. Like you said, if the game fully blows out, maybe they let him do his thing against the Golden State backups. It's just a really interesting. It's a volatile roster spot, but I understand your thought process. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. He's probably not going to be a Nugget in a week. Is the point.
If we're talking Fred VanVleet, there better be 3 first-round draft picks involved in this trade as well. The Raps
next year. Well, no, one more year, right? They got one more year of him. I think he's a free agent.
I mean, I don't. Even though they are bad, I don't fully feel the need to set the reset button. Like, they are still wildly young, and so they're probably just one piece away from being real good. So I'm not too worried about the Raptors at this point. But I mean, where better to do a little showcase for a trade than in a blowout? Let him play the whole fourth quarter, and he'll have 20 points in the fourth quarter, and then they can get an extra second-round pick for him.
Yeah, I will say, who knows? There's all sorts of trade speculation, and like 90% of it never happened. So it's a lot of meaningless conversation, but it seems like he's probably going to get moved, and decent chance. Well, we'll see what Toronto does. I'm curious. They're kind of put in a tough spot, but yeah, they're not going anywhere this year. And I don't know if Freddie wants to stay there, as he talked about that. I think 35 mil was what I was, per year, allegedly going forward. I saw that number floated out there, but yeah, going to be curious how that turns out for your Raptors. My Heat also in a tough spot because they're really, they're not going to get much better enough to like matter, and they're not horrible where they can just sell off everybody. So going to be curious how this trade deadline works. Still a week away. Stay tuned next Thursday, 3 or something like that. Okay. Very first game, TJ, Lakers. Only 7:00 game here. Lakers, Indiana, 240.5 is the total. We are expecting Halliburton to come back tonight. As far as the Lakers, their injuries, LeBron, I guess he's officially questionable. Davis expected to go. Pat Bev is available as well. With Halliburton fully healthy, basically all the Indiana guys are kind of, sort of, somewhat overpriced. I did see Naismith is getting some love. I don't know if love is the right word, but like theoretically he could be usable. This, of course, the narrative of like speaking of trades, like 90% of the trades that are out there that never happen. I'm sure everybody heard that, like, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner for Westbrook and like some more ones or whatever for the Lakers. That was floated out there for forever. Never happened. I guess it's never going to happen. Who knows? We'll see. Stay tuned. But the return of Halliburton, would you dare roster him? Do we think he's going to get full minutes? Because theoretically, it's a good matchup to pace here against the Lakers.
I think we can roster him today, unless we hear specifically before the game that he's going to have some type of minutes limit. This is a lost season for them, and so I don't think he'd be out there unless he was 100%. And so, I think we can roster Halliburton today at low ownership. I'm not going to be trying to play him if I'm playing one lineup, if I'm playing 3 lineups. But rolling out 150 today like I am, I definitely want to get overweight to the 3% ownership we're projecting him for. I'd probably like to get to 5 to 10% range, try and double that. So Halliburton is a guy that I'm interested in playing. Miles Turner would be the only other one I'd have in my pool on the Pacers today, just because they have been priced up for Halliburton's absence. And then on the Lakers side of things, it's kind of the same thing. If LeBron plays, him and AD are going to be the only 2 in my pool. And I don't feel the need to set rules in lineup HQ for rostering Lakers players. I'll roster LeBron on his own. I'll roster AD on his own. But I will set a rule that if I'm going to play Tyrese Halliburton, I want to have either AD or LeBron on that team.
I like that thought process. I think that's pretty good. It's a good, little rule to throw in there. So this is the tricky thing is, like, I like to kind of like reference where we are as far as ownership and where ownership is. And everybody knows, and I always mention it, how it's fluid. Things change. The slate can change. And the slate, absolutely, it's possible. The slate can like flip on its head. point I'm getting at is like right now, well, this is as of 4:00. So it's an hour ago. We're going to update this. We're going to update it again. But Aaron Naismith is 3.6K on DK. We're projecting him for 25 minutes and 18 fantasy points. Not a good fantasy point minute player, about 18 fantasy points, and therefore still getting 18% ownership. But it could be completely, I don't want to say unusable or worthless, but back of the line stuff if the Golden State goes the other way. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention it. And currently we have Naismith at 18%. We're projecting all those guys in. We're playing it safe with Golden State, but again, things can change. So, I don't know, how do we handle this basically? Because I'm acknowledging, as of right now, we're looking at an 18% play. That's a bad play, by the way. Like Naismith in a vacuum at like 18%, to me is a bad play. Would you agree with that? It sounded like you would, because you said all you like was, maybe some Turner, maybe some Halliburton. That's that.
No disrespect whatsoever to my guy Tuttle, who's got him tagged here as a salary saver. It makes sense with the projections. He's on the projections team, but it's going to be a big ol' X button for Aaron Naismith for me today. He's not even going to be in my pool.
Yeah, and the other thing is, why you're throwing shade at Tuttle. What are you doing?
I said I'm not throwing shade at Tuttle.
I know, but that's like saying, like, when somebody says,
I said with all due respect, Dean.
When no offense, but, and then you didn't come right at him. That's the rules, right? I said no offense. Yeah, I assume he would take it away.
With all due respect, that opinion ain't worth a velvet painting of a whale and a dolphin getting it on.
Is that sounds like something like Zach Galifianakis has said somewhere?
It's Will Ferrell from Talladega Nights.
I knew it was. Yeah, I knew I heard it from a movie, and I just couldn't quite place it. But yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, there you go. Well,
that's how all Americans sound to me.
Really?
No.
As there's more than one accent too. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure you can distinguish. Sure. Yeah. Just like there's more than one Canadian accent.
To me, you sound the same as I do. Like you sound like you could live in the same place that I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Not the same as I do, as in we have the same voice, but like I don't distinguish an accent on you any different than the people around me.
Standard American.
Standard Canadian.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
We welcome you in Canada, Dean.
I've been several times. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But if you want to stay, we'd welcome you.
you can put me in the direction of an Airbnb.
Yeah, no. Or like if you want to purchase, we'll hang out. Tax-free DFS.
Hey man, there are certainly some perks there. And
you would like British Columbia. It doesn't get too cold.
I saw a tweet the other day of like all the sports books that are available in Ontario. I guess Ontario is not a DFS, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a trip to Ontario. It was like there's like 20 different books, and like every single one of them, you hit that, you get the bonus, you take advantage of every bonus possible, right? And you can knock that out in 10 days or whatever. You can write that trip off if you want to, because it's there's ways to do this, I think. But I was looking at it, but my wheels started turning. But I guess you wouldn't play DFS either. That's when I'm going to Nashville, right? We're going to go to Nashville for the Super Bowl. Somebody's signing up for every sports book in Tennessee. And I'm going to stick around for a few extra days in sports gambling and take advantage of those sign-up bonuses. Use the links at RotoGrinders as well. There you go. Why wouldn't I? Sure. Lakers, what is your thoughts as far as, we got LeBron. He's questionable. I assume he plays. Do you assume he plays?
Yeah, I'm assuming he plays. If he doesn't, that's where all of a sudden this team gets quite interesting. I'd want to play Russell Westbrook. I'd maybe even consider some value. Like I'd want to play Dennis Schroeder. I'd consider Rui Hachimura, maybe even a Troy Brown, something like that. But if LeBron James plays, then it's only LeBron or AD for me.
Who's your preference amongst the two?
So it's Anthony Davis in a vacuum, but the small forward, power forward eligibility of LeBron James versus only the center eligibility for AD makes me want to play, like on DraftKings specifically, makes me kind of want to lean LeBron. But on Fanduel, where you can play Anthony Davis at power forward, I actually think I like him a little better.
The ownership is interesting too. Currently 9% for LeBron on DK, 3% for Davis. I almost always tend to get over on LeBron. I love LeBron, and I think he's kind of, I don't know, underplayed. It seems, and just sort of get that take. I'm always happy to get more LeBron than the field. Is that hold as well as far as Fanduel? Let's take a peek at the ownership over there. See if that's 9% for each. Getting a full 1K difference down to Davis as far as LeBron. Anything else that we should note here as far as this game? Really good environment. A lot of pace. Let's just check the pace. We have, as far as this, we'll talk about it soon enough. Memphis and Cleveland, I think, is really, really interesting because we have the two best defensive teams going at it. One, also the slowest team in the league, Memphis, I believe, fourth fastest. So it's an interesting sort of matchup from that perspective. Lakers are, let's see, I have last 15 games up. I was looking at something before the show, but on the season, Lakers are second fastest and Indiana is fifth fastest. I didn't check to see like if they were faster or slower with Halliburton. I guess I can do that on the fly. What were they, last 10 games of Halliburton? Is that what it was? I think it was. Indiana played at a 102 pace. So I think that's basically what they played for the season. Let's see. 101.8. Yeah, essentially the same. They play the same speed. Okay. Anything else? Moving on, right?
Moving on.
Memphis and Cleveland, as mentioned, two really, really good defensive teams. Cleveland 1, Memphis 2 defensively. It is worth noting that Steven Adams will not be playing for Memphis, and also Triple J, not officially out, but he is doubtful. So their defense certainly takes a hit. Danny Green came back last night, and he's out today for management. Cleveland has he's questionable with a hamstring. John Concher is available for Memphis for what it's worth, but this is one of the spots where we have value. If this is going to be like really popular value and maybe a little less popular depending on Golden State and depending on when that news comes in, I'm curious how you handle that, right? Because Xavier Tillman, kind of somewhat surprisingly, drew the start last night. I think he's going to start again. Our projections have him to start again. Santi Aldama drawing the start at the 4 as well. And not a ton of depth here for Memphis. Like, Brandon Clark's going to be they're big off the bench. Tyus Jones.
I feel like Clark might end up being the backup, starting at the 4 here, but I guess they do need a backup center, so maybe that would work.
So does Tillman and Clark played together a lot? I have not thought about that. And let's run a Court IQ to see if that's happened before.
I guess since they probably have to occupy 48 minutes of the center position, I guess maybe they won't play very much together, but it just seems crazy that with this much big depth that they wouldn't try and get Brandon Clark more time.
They've played together this year 26 minutes, so it's happened before. So I don't know the situation, obviously, on the fly, but it is of note. It is worth noting. But you think there's a chance that Clark well, is it because of the matchup? Because Mobley and Allen are on the other side, and you want to get as much. Well, I feel like Clark's bigger than all of them, isn't he? I think so. Neither are like huge though, for basketball wise. Who's bigger amongst those two?
Brandon Clark is.
Do we have a machine we can type this into, and the information just like pop right up magically?
Hold on.
Oh,
Brandon Clark is 6'8".
Yeah, it's all center. Aldama's 7-footer. He's 215.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I just think like Clark is the better player, and Clark had been starting at the 5, and they typically start 2 big guys, and so it would make sense to me that Brandon Clark ends up getting the starting spot. But you never know. Like, he is a better defender than Aldama, I think, is, and so I think it makes sense that they could start Aldama as well. I just don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that it's Clark. I think it's more of a toss-up.
I think it's going to Aldama for what it's worth. But I mean, Clark, let's see, what are our minutes projection for these two? Okay. I'm still on the Lakers for some reason. Let's jump to our minutes. So we're giving Santi 26, Clark 22. Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, we're giving, Santi 26, Tillman 26, and then 22 to Clark and Williams. So like Clark and Williams being the backup 4 and 5, and Tillman and Aldama starting at the 4-5. That's the way I'm reading it. That's what we have it as of right now. And they're really thin. Like, Roddy's got to play 17 minutes. Even gave 1 minute to LaRavia, which, typically not somebody in their rotation all that important. Morant was amazing last night. I was wrong about that game. Picked the big L on it. But Lillard smashed. I was right about Josh Hart. That was one thing I got correct. I don't know how popular it ended up being, but I saw he hit 0 points. So I'm happy about that one. We got that one correct. I don't know where you won Hart last night because I whiffed on Lillard. He smashed. He's awesome.
I had a little bit of all of them. I had a bit of exposure to that game, but not a ton. I think Dame was the one that I had the most exposure to, though.
Nicely done. Fantasy point per minute.
If I didn't have so much Isaiah Joe, like I would have done phenomenally last night. Like I had so many teams that were 50th, 70th, 100th in GPPs, but with Isaiah Joe.
Are we just going to keep falling for like whoever the 3K guy is starting for OKC? Like that's happened 2 games in a row now. Before it was Wiggins. They start, they don't
Wiggins
do anything.
Did crush one of those games.
Well, Wiggins, the move was I was talking about as far as they don't even start the second half.
Yeah.
I think Joe closed for what it's worth, and I think he played at least 20 minutes. But I mean, we know the deal with OKC. There's so much fragility to like players 3 through 9 or whatever it is. The prices reflect it, but yeah, going forward, fool me once, right? Fool me twice.
Anyways, back to the Memphis situation. Like, I do agree that if I were to say, if I'm on the projections team, which one do I think is going to start? I got to pick one. I'm picking Aldama. Yeah. But I definitely would take the over on 22 minutes for Brandon Clark. I think it's more likely we get 26 to 29 minutes for Brandon Clark today.
Santi, good fantasy point per minute player, 0.92 on DK, 0.93 on Fanduel. Tillman, even better, 0.98 on DK, 1.04 on Fanduel. Clark, even better, but we're expecting less minutes, and also he costs more money, 1.09, 1.12. And again, this massive pace down spot against Cleveland, and they are really, really strong defensively. They're really strong inside. So, like, it's not a spectacular matchup. It is worth noting if you pull up the defense versus archetype matchup tool. Memphis, right, against, just the only one that's really popping, or I guess the inside guys are popping. If you call Tillman and Clark versatile bigs, they are, it's a pretty good spot. It's 6th best matchup. How versatile are Tillman and Clark? They don't really hit many threes, do they? I feel like they don't.
Clark's not a shooter, but I mean, he's very versatile, like on the defensive end. He's a 3 as much as he is a 5. You know what I mean? Like, he's like a legit 4.
I think of him as like a young Montrezl Harrell. Like, just kind of energy guy,
but taller and without being a liability defensively.
Well, yeah, I think Harrell was once a good defensive player, no longer. That's why I added the addendum.
I don't think so.
He was never good. I can't say for certain. He looked good though.
I'm sure he was good on people, like on undersized centers, but like, yeah, and that's why he couldn't play very big minutes and would almost never close because of defense.
What are we doing as far as like Morant is going to be completely ignored, coming off an awesome basketball game? He dropped a triple-double, actually, messed around 3%. We're talking 3% tonight. Again, the matchup here against Cleveland is not good, not appealing. I guess he's going to play on the back-to-back. I believe they pushed his minutes down a little bit last night. Coming back, he was questionable going into that game. Yeah. As far as Ja, you're running 150 tonight. Is he in your pool? He's got to be at least in the pool, right?
He's not right now, which is pretty terrifying. But I just want to be able to get to as much exposure of Luka and Giannis and Jokic as I can tonight, and so it's terrifying. You guys got at least 58 points in 4 straight games, but I don't think I'm going to go with Ja Morant today.
Talk to me about, again, this all kind of ties in with Golden State, right? How much Tillman and Aldama are you willing to take on if we don't know what possibly is to come with Golden State, right? How much do you want to get locked in and married to is sort of
quite a bit, just because the player I would get to the most from Golden State, regardless if Steph Curry is out, is Ty Jerome 1 and Jordan Poole 2. As long as Andrew Wiggins is in this game, that does take away from the Jonathan Kuminga's and just like they have more big bodies, and so I'm not going to be even wanting to get to a ton of Jamichael Green, James Wiseman, who was popping earlier in the day, stuff like that. Like, I don't want to do too much of that anyways. Poole and Jerome would be the ones I'd want to get to in bunches. And so
not Kuminga. You don't think Kuminga could be a guy that
yes, Kuminga, but a lot less now that Wiggins is not on the injury report.
Yeah.
Like, I am kind of just going to go, like, maybe he does just end up getting scratched here because that was an oversight and he's been injured. And so he probably shouldn't be playing the back-to-back. That totally makes sense. But if he does play, then I have a lot less interest in Kuminga.
You got anything else as far as Memphis? Or you want to talk about Cleveland?
No, we can talk about Cleveland.
Go for it.
I don't really want to play that many of them. Like, so without Jaren Jackson Jr., it does make me want to include Evan Mobley and include Jared Allen in the pool. Which and I didn't have them in there beforehand. That was just like, we talked about this a little bit before pre-show. That's something I want to, a mistake I found in my process the last few days is my player pool was a little bit too big. LeBron James ankle, a game time decision. That doesn't matter. That's the first game of the slate.
Yeah.
But now there's no Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a big, like that hurts their Memphis's defense quite a bit. No Steven Adams either. Mobley and Allen should be able to have a field day today in a pace up spot. So I threw them back in the pool after JJJ went out. And then Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are both just too cheap. If I'm picking one of them, it's going to be Donovan Mitchell. And then another guy I'm slightly tempted to include in my pool for potential value is Ricky Rubio, just because of how wild of a point per minute producer he's been for them lately in limited minutes. But again, like that would be taking away from the Ty Jerome that I would want to get to. Whereas the bigs in the Memphis on the Memphis side, not so much.
There's an opportunity cost to get in Rubio and like locking in those 20 points, and then it could be a disaster, like you said.
Exactly. And so I'm more tempted to get to the Minnesota bigs and take a shot on a guy that is probably like capped at a 25-point ceiling. But having said that, if all of a sudden the Golden State news doesn't break my way, it might be nice to lock in that 20 points.
I should have mentioned, by the way, Zaire Williams is officially questionable for Memphis, right? I don't think he's officially been ruled in. He may not be available. What's interesting is we have a what if. Like, what if he is out? And we're not increasing minutes for Tillman or for Clark or for...
I assume it'd be Conchar who would get him, eh?
Yeah. I think we're just throwing his minutes to Conchar is what I'm seeing. That's interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think
I feel like Conchar is the better player either, so it's kind of weird to me that Zaire Williams picks up those minutes anyways, but maybe he's a better defender. I don't know. I haven't really watched enough of them, but if Zaire's out, I do think maybe Tyus Jones could be somewhat interesting in tournaments. Just maybe they go a little extra guard heavy. But having said that, like with John Morant, right? Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks all in the game, that's just like how high are any of these players' ceilings outside of them? I am kind of surprised that Desmond Bane's not sitting on a back-to-back after he had been out for a while.
I thought the same thing. How many minutes did he end up playing last night? I know his minutes were kind
only
of
25.
thin. Yeah, so they kind of sort of like sat him last night. They kind of half sat him yesterday, which is, I don't know. Like, if you're going to bring him back, bring him back. But they brought him back for 26 minutes. So he did have 4 fouls. I don't think he was in foul trouble at some point. I wasn't following that. It's possible like he got in foul trouble in the first half or something, but just like it feels like he got cut like 6 minutes or so. But that is, I'm not really on Bane tonight. Not just because of the injury thing, tough matchup, good defense team there as far as Cleveland, and the pace down is really, really hurtful. Okay. We have anything else here? Or moving on? I think we're moving on, right?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Let's talk about, speaking of pace, the Miami Heat and the Knicks, 215.5 throwback game. That is the total here. Very, very clearly the lowest total on the board. Miami is a 2-point favorite here. We just had Oladipo ruled out. Gabe Vincent should be available. Everything else is the same. Obviously, Duncan Robinson's still out for New York. Mitch Rob is out. Man, I was not on Hartenstein when he played 97 minutes off the bench and like 47 minutes straight. But yeah, that's what can happen sometimes with New York. Talk about pace as far as this game. I believe it's 2 of the 4 slowest teams in basketball. Cleveland the slowest. We talked about them already. The second slowest is Dallas. We'll talk about them. And third and fourth, respectively, is Miami and New York. One of the better things about being a younger person, TJ, is that you were not subjected to Miami Heat, New York games back in the 90s. First team to like 83 wins. It was the worst. But as a Miami fan, I had to watch them. But somebody in the chat.
I remember watching a little Ewing versus Morning.
Yeah, that was that's Charles Oakley and Tim Hardaway and Pat Riley versus Jeff Van Gundy. I'm sure you've seen the Jeff Van Gundy on God, whose leg was he on? He was on somebody's leg. He was involved in a kerfuffle. Do you remember this?
No.
No. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. I thought you were talking about right
clip.
now. Sorry. I thought you were talking about something that happened recently.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry was in his third year, I believe, back then during that game. Still around, playing for the Miami Heat. So I think Caleb Martin becomes a really interesting value play. The absence of Oladipo. You could throw darts at Strus and Vincent. Miami not a lot of depth tonight. Looks like they only have 10, and that's including Udonis Haslem and Dwayne Dedmon, who, Coach Spo kind of mentioned that he might try to get them some work, or work them in, or however he phrased it. I don't remember what he said exactly. Good luck with that. No, you're not rostering them. I'm just trying to think minutes-wise. But Miami, we're going to get a tight rotation, I think, here with Miami tonight. And that's what we're projecting, right? 36 minutes for Hero and Bam, 34 for Caleb, 34 for Jimmy, who's really, really cheap on DK, 7.4K. Lowry, 29, Strus off the bench, Vincent off the bench with 22, 23. And we're giving a little bit to Highsmith and Dedmon. So Jimmy at 20% ownership because, again, the price is pretty good. The pace isn't great here against New York, but the price is cheap enough. I think Butler's a really, really solid play. What are you doing with the Heat? Jimmy Butler, and feel free to go from there.
Tale of two sites. Like you mentioned, this is a very slow game. On FanDuel, I don't think I want to play any Miami Heat player outside of maybe Tyler Herro at 6,400. But Jimmy and Bam are priced up on FanDuel. Lowry and Caleb Martin are sure they're in the 4Ks, but they're also both picking up over 20% ownership. And I don't have any interest in playing chalk Lowry or chalk Caleb Martin in a slow defensive game on FanDuel. So I'm kind of out there. On DraftKings, Martin's a little bit cheaper. Lowry's not picking up as much ownership. Strus is quite a bit cheaper. So I'd be more willing to take shots there. But it's really, and Harrow's still fine as well. He's still a good play, but it's really all about Jimmy and Bam for me. Bam is a very good play, and Jimmy on DraftKings, I think if you remove the Golden State game from the equation, or even just assume everybody on Golden State is in, then I think Jimmy's the best play on DraftKings on the slate.
Just announced that Pat Bev is starting for the Lakers. I don't think we're playing Pat Bev, but I assume that means Hachimura is not starting, unless that means Troy Brown's not starting. And Hachimura would start for him. Do we care about this at all? Just wanted to mention it.
Not really, no.
Okay. You're running 150 on DK. You said you don't like Caleb Martin. Was that FanDuel specific, or is that both sites you're not a fan of?
Yeah, FanDuel specific, where he's a couple $100 more and picking up almost 30% ownership. That just feels like a good fade to me. A little too much recency bias coming in on that one from a good game the other day where he shot 7 for 8 from the field.
You don't think that's repeatable?
It's always repeatable, but I don't think the odds are high.
Yeah. It is a good defense versus the defense. Did my voice just crack there? Well, puberty finally kicked in. I've been waiting for that. It's a good defense versus archetype matchup tool for Caleb. Third best matchup for versatile forwards, which I don't know. Caleb doesn't really have like a definitive, this is what he does. And theoretically, it's a good spot for combo guards, Tyler Herro and Kyle Lowry. I will play some Hero. I will not play some Lowry, I don't think. Do not plan on it. I don't like to speak
No, again, no shade to the defense versus archetype tool, great tool, but no one's out here thinking who's a versatile forward in the NBA? Giannis Antetokounmpo, Caleb Martin,
you got to give him something. And there's one of
I know
9
100%.
Places, and I don't know what he would. Maybe he'd be like a combo. Is he a combo guard? Not really. There's a few guys that just sort of like there's really no label that fits in perfectly. Like, what would you call Caleb Martin? Kind of just a wing, but I don't. Would you call him a 3 and D wing? I don't know. Maybe I guess you could, but
I probably just wouldn't call him.
Well, the thing is, if you don't call him, then he gets lonely and he takes offense to that. Yeah, Corey, it does not say Adonis Haslam versatile, right? I don't know what we have for Haslam. Maybe we have nothing on him. Just we added a separate category for like towel waivers or something like that.
Slow bigs.
I love Haslam. He took a discount to stay in Miami, and Miami has been thankful for that ever since. Okay. Summarize the Heat. I didn't really get to a lot of Bam, but like, sure, Bam is fine. 20%. And again, a lot of this stuff as far as his ownership is going to be fluid, right? Because if Golden State opens up, depending on when it opens up, you're going to be able to have more money to spend for bigger studs. Nothing wrong with Bam. And that's the other thing. This is the other 7:30 game. And like Miami, there's some good value. And Memphis, there's some good value. And who knows when we get Golden State, whenever Steve Kerr feels like it. Yeah. How about New York? What's your thoughts as far as the Knicks? Are you chasing that Hartenstein game? Like, you can't project him to play 40 minutes, whatever it was, but that is in the realm of possibilities. Yeah. How are you handling New York?
This is kind of like a tale of two sides, but in the opposite. So like on DraftKings, Isaiah Quickly at 5,400, I think is okay. But other than that, I don't want to play any Knicks. They've all been priced up. I don't want to get to any of them. Hartenstein was a lot easier to stomach when he was just over 3K. And then it's like, if he only plays his 16 minutes, he's probably not going to burn you that badly. If he scores 15 fantasy points, whatever, you can still cash there. But at 4K, he's probably not going to play that many minutes. It only happened because Sims was in foul trouble. And I mean, even if they're in there, they're still like, even if they're going in, yeah, but he got in foul trouble. Then Hartenstein was playing good, so they just kept him out there. Like, even if they're out there, he's still going up against Bam Adebayo defense. So I just don't really want to get to any of these guys. On FanDuel, where Julius Randle's only 9,300, Jalen Brunson 79, I would be a lot more willing to take shots over there. But like a 21% Jericho Sims over there, out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My apologies. Interesting to note, like, it's really hard to play 40 minutes off the bench, but that's what Hartenstein did. Of course, there was an overtime period. He played the entire overtime period. Quickly played 38 plus minutes off the bench. Why is that? Because he closed over Barrett. Barrett got kicked out of there middle of the fourth. Well, let's see. Grimes came back on for him in the middle of the fourth. Like Grimes' defense, grimy. Once Quickly comes in, he doesn't come out. That's what happened last game. He's been phenomenal for what it's worth, but Quickly's been really, really good. Hartenstein, he played once he came in the middle of the third. I guess either Sims got a foul or something. Sims disappeared and Hartenstein never left. He was out there for let's see, about 22 straight minutes, maybe more than that. UCF math. But yeah, that's just wild stuff. Can we assume that's going to happen tonight? No. Is it possible? Sure. I don't think I'm playing him, not much at least, maybe a pinch if I just want to, make a wish or whatever. But yeah, I just think we had to point it out. You got to mention it. This is something that can happen, but it's not the likely scenario. Anything else here as far as Miami and New York? Bad environment, but some reasonable plays here when you consider salary.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I'll get some Knicks. On DraftKings, I'll get to quite a bit of Miami, highlighted by Jimmy Butler, who's one of the better plays on the slate. A guy like Hartenstein, that's not going to be for me today. Hey, maybe he gets hot, plays well, and plays a bunch of minutes. Maybe when we got almost 300 people watching, the people will actually hit the like button. Maybe they'll just take their mouse and they'll slide it over a little bit.
I don't think they will.
Maybe if they're on their phone, they'll click hide chat so that the like button pops up and they can click it. But it's wild to me how the easiest thing ever, people they just don't want to do it. They hate us, Dean. They
want to stay off the grid though, because then they track you. It's like, oh, this person. Then now they're going to start feeding you certain things on your YouTube feed, and like, I just want to watch this video.
You know what? If they like our feed, if they like the video, you know what? The YouTube will show them more of us. Our videos.
I'm just playing devil's advocate and being a jerk for no particular reason, but that's just what I'm doing.
Nice, Steve. That's all you
what's
got to do. Just slide that mouse over and give it a little click.
Oh, is producer Steve a GIF for the people? Did I miss it? I was not watching.
You've missed many a GIFs so far this stream.
Are they up the entire time?
They've been Steve's been GIFing like crazy.
How do you look at everything and also watch the video? I can maybe I'll have like in like the peripheral, I like the but I like to keep blinkers on like I'm a horse. You know what I mean? I don't want to see what's going on the left and the right. But I guess you're more versatile than me. How many monitors do you have? You have an extra monitor, right? I have 2. That's not enough?
I got 2 as well.
Oh, well, I don't know how you watch everything, but okay. Now pressure's on Steve to impress me with some gifts. Let's see what you got, producer Steve. Okay, we're moving on from. I'm watching
us twice. Like I got the StreamYard right here. I got the YouTube one up here. Like I'm watching us double time right now.
Look how versatile you are. I'm currently in a.
I'm
MLB
a versatile forward.
Draft. Yes, you are the Caleb Martin of this broadcast. All right, we shall move on and talk about a more exciting game from a DFS perspective. It's the Charlotte Hornets. They're at Chicago. 236.5 is the total. Chicago is a 6-point favorite here as far as who's in and who's out, what we're monitoring. Charlotte getting healthier, but Oubre is still out, and Caleb's brother, Cody Martin, his twin, in fact, is out. Lonzo Ball, of course, not playing. He has not played the entire season. So essentially, Chicago is fully healthy. I feel like this one's depending on where you're shopping. If you're shopping on FanDuel, you should like the Bulls, right?
Yeah, Bulls a lot nicer price it over on FanDuel, but even Charlotte as well. Like this is kind of a nice game stack situation over on FanDuel where you got Levine at 7,400, and then on the Charlotte side of things, you got LaMelo Ball at 8,700. Those are probably 2 of the first players you're plugging into cash games today, and they both are phenomenal players. So starting on the Bulls side of things, obviously these guys are a bit better on FanDuel. I don't know how much I would want to play Levine, Vucevic, and DeRozan together, but I really like Vucevic for tournaments. Levine obviously is just a phenomenal play on FanDuel. Even at that ownership, I don't think it's that bad. And then on DraftKings, I think my favorite of the trio is going to be Nikola Vucevic, especially since he's picking up not very sub 10% ownership today. I think he's a great tournament play. DeRozan and Levine are just all right. And then guys like Patrick Williams, I would soon move Kobe White. If you're running 150, keep him in the pool as potential values, but like at almost 20% own Patrick Williams, that's not something I want to do.
Vucevic is legitimately a versatile big. Versatile bigs against Charlotte, the third best matchup. And the reason why we do this, by the way, if it's not clear, like not all position. First of all, like they play a ton of positionless basketball right now in the NBA, obviously, but there's no way you can tell me Rudy Gobert has the same game as like Nikola or as Vucevic or Jokic, or there's not a lot of traditional like old school like centers like Gobert. So like centers against Charlotte are good. Yeah, okay, but let's dig a little deeper. It just makes more sense. But yeah, the Vucevic thing certainly checks out. Got a couple of good questions there in chat, by the way. We'll answer your questions in chat in just a second. I'm multitasking. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the screen. I missed something though if anything was popped up because I gotta close the thing out. Ugh. All right. You're
tough.
correct. What's that?
Life's tough.
Really, it could be tougher though. It could certainly be tougher for sure. Ownership stuff on FanDuel, like you were talking about, Ball was crazy cheap last time out against Milwaukee, and he just annihilated the slate. They bumped him up, but still not high enough at 8.7K. Therefore, he's getting 43% ownership, which is absurd. But rightfully so. Like you said, cash games just lock him in there on FanDuel. DK a little bit trickier, but still a really strong play. But 43% ownership reflects it. DeRozan at 30%, Book at 24%, Rozier at 11%, Levine 43%. Woof. And again, on DK, nobody getting 20% or more. And also this ownership stuff could definitely go away to some degree if the Golden State – you guys aren't aware. There's a situation in Golden State, technically Denver. But stay tuned as far as what they're doing, who's in and who's out for those teams. You like a little game stack here, Charlotte and Chicago?
Situation going on in Denver, and it is not Dean crashing on Grant's couch again. Yeah, I do like a little bit of a game stack here. LaMelo Ball, especially on FanDuel, obviously is that cash gameplay we talked about. But even a guy like Terry Rozier, $7,300 on DraftKings, solid play today. Ball on DK is still a good tournament play. Mason Plumlee is somebody I like getting to a lot in tournaments. He's somebody who has shown a very high upside this season, and he's not getting to very much ownership. On the morning grind today, Stevie talked about liking PJ Washington. I don't think that one's for me, but I just wanted to bring it up because Stevie's really smart. So I wanted to give extra props to his PJ Washington call. And then if I'm running a ton of lineups, which I am, I don't think I'm excluding Gordon Hayward.
What is the ceiling for Gordon Hayward? Is the ceiling the roof, or does he have a chance to actually do some things?
I think the ceiling is probably 33, 34, 35 fantasy points, but at that price tag, that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
It just like he's been playing like 24 minutes, 26 minutes, 27 minutes his first 3 games back here after resting on a back-to-back. But no, that's what I mean. Like it's gone up like a minute or two every game. If all of a sudden he just plops it up to 30 here, that's $5,300 is way too cheap for Gordon Hayward.
Right on cue, producer Steve is showing you the game log for Gordon Hayward right here. I watched the screen. I know what producer Steve is doing. You know, you got to pay attention to these things. And, you know, when was the last time he had a game where you're like, man, I really wish I rostered myself some Gordon Hayward? Feels like it's been a while.
100%, because he's also coming back from injury, but that's why he's 1% owned. So you're playing 150 lineups, get yourself 5% Gordon Hayward today. You're 5xing the field. If he happens to play 30 minutes and score 36 fantasy points, you're very happy about that.
Or you have 7.5 dead teams.
Yeah, I don't care. I got 100. I got 143 others.
And you're also playing. You're basically on a free. You're playing those quarter, 50-cent, $1. You're having
that's the. I'm testing the DraftKings waters lately, and I got I got the restrictions on FanDuel because that's where I've always played, right? I can only play $4 and above, but on DraftKings, no limit. So I get to test out these player pools, take some stands, refine my process for MMEing. But I mean, Gordon Hayward's also had 1 game under 27 fantasy points since coming back from injury. It's not like this is a guy with a super.
Well, that's a way to frame it. Well, what has he had any over 30?
Yeah, 1, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's fine. It's not like it's going to be a dud if he doesn't get those extra minutes. It's not going to kill your lineups. It's a perfectly fine guy to get 3 to 4% of today when the field's only getting 1.
Yeah. I mean, again, in a pinch, if I had to, I suppose I would. I'll hold my nose. Some questions in chat. Fire off your questions in chat. I'm keeping an eye on it. This is a good one. Michael wants to know, DK tournaments, right? Can you play Aldama and Tillman in the same lineup? It allows me to get Luka and Giannis. I can because they're cheap enough. They're probably negatively correlate just like a tick, I imagine. I don't know. I can't imagine a ton. But they're cheap enough where I think I would be willing to do it. Would you play Aldama and Tillman in the same lineup on DK?
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I think that'll likely be like optimal, assuming like we don't get this Golden State news. That'll probably be what optimal lineups tell you to do.
Yes. Let's see. Other questions here. I saw a couple other ones. Apparently Plumlee cooked Vukovic last time out. And he's still
Vucevic. Soft C.
Vucevic?
Yeah.
Oh. Who was the guy that was it Kendrick Perkins? Who's the guy that really couldn't say his name? That famous clip. He really, really struggles.
I don't know, probably.
I
think it was probably Barkley or something.
No, it wasn't Barkley. It was just one of the secondary guys on ESPN or somewhere. But yeah. And I thought that there's another question in chat that I kind of missed, or maybe we kind of answered it as we sort of went over. Your favorite bull, all things considered?
Levine on FanDuel, Vucevic on DraftKings.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the Pels at Dallas. We got 3 games left, 15, 20 minutes, a little bit more than 20 minutes till the crunch time crew comes in. Y'all get Will and Andre, and you're getting Roth, of course, to steer that ship.
This show has flown by. I'm having fun, Dean. It's nice to be back on GrindersLive again.
Yeah, we finally figured out our issues with HR, and we can work together again. So I'm glad that we're very compatible now, right? There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why I'm putting that fake story out there. Like one person probably wonder what happened. Like they're so far away. What could it possibly be? All right, New Orleans and Dallas. 223 is the total here. Dallas 5.5 point favorite. Luka Doncic really really good at DFS. It is interesting, right? Not a monster slate, but we have all the big boys, right? Giannis and Luke and Joker. We'll talk about those guys later. As far as those three, right? If you're just going to, I know positions and all stuff, but you're talking about Jokic, talking about Giannis, you're talking about Luka. Who's going to be the biggest winner out of those three? Who puts up the biggest raw points tonight?
I think from a raw point standpoint, it's definitely Luka Doncic. The one I am most worried about would be Nikola Jokic, just based on the potential blowout. But at the same time, you also got a $1,000 discount from Nikola Jokic from Luka Doncic. So I would rank them, I think, Doncic 1, Giannis 2, Jokic 3. But I love all three of them today, and I'm planning on getting – if they're going to be 15, and 10% owned, I'm going to be trying to double those.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's where it is right now. And like right now,
but Golden State, yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So I hate to keep repeating it, keep saying the same thing, but it's an important thing to note.
It's just they probably won't get up all that high though, because if we get that news after lock, people are still going to be having to play some of these players in the early games, and so they'll get up higher than they're projected, but it'll still probably be like 18%, 11%, and I'm trying to get to about 30% of each of them today.
But yeah, we talked about this pre-show, and you were even saying like how good the field was last night to be like, and like it's super obvious if you're kind of paying attention, you got to change your lineups, and if you're at dinner or who knows what you're doing. But most people were on top of it. Like once Gobert was ruled out around 7:30, everybody went, or a good portion, like 50% of the field went to Naz Reid because he just smashes. And we saw with DeJounte Murray earlier in the week where Trey was questionable. It was the last game of the slate, and people were holding. 30% of the field ended up on Murray, I believe, in some of the contests I was on, and they're just getting sharper. So that's what's just going to happen. The later the news comes out, the less time people have to react. But people are just on top of it as a general rule. Not everybody, but enough. No Christian Wood, no Kleber, of course, no Zion, no Dyson Daniels. Other pieces on Dallas, your thoughts as the rest of the pieces? You talked about Luka. How about everybody else? Is there anybody else you like?
Nope. Not playing a single other Dallas Maverick today, not named Luka Doncic.
What about New Orleans? I guess, I mentioned, we talked about this pre-show as well, or I was talking with somebody earlier today. Maybe it wasn't you. I assume they're in Dallas. We would have heard by now that this game was canceled, but I guess New Orleans found a way to get to Dallas. This game is happening. Pelicans have been sputtering. A lot of injuries, of course, of late. Some are getting, we have Ingram is back. He's pretty cheap. He's kind of sort of someone interesting. Of course, the matchup against Dallas is not appealing because Dallas plays really, really slow. I believe the slowest pace in the entire league. Defensively, I think they're kind of they're not good. Yeah, they're seventh worst, but there are less possessions to be had. How do you feel about the Pels?
I like some of the price tags. Like, I hate the matchup, but I like some of the price tags. And so Jonas Valanciunas is just priced at the point that, he's probably not going to play that many minutes, and he's probably going to suck. But if he plays 30, he's just going to break the slate at that price tag. 5.7 on DraftKings. That's just way, way too cheap for a guy with his point per minute potential. So I'm interested in getting to JV on DraftKings. And then Brandon Ingram on both sites, I just think is too cheap. He's been absolutely chucking the ball up ever since he has gotten back into the lineup here. And he hasn't shot all that well. 4 for 18, 8 for 12, 5 for 17, but he still has a very high usage rate. Jumped from 25 minutes in his first game to 28, then up to 33 last game. So I think Brandon Ingram is underpriced, and I think CJ McCollum is underpriced as well. So I don't mind getting to either of those guys in tournaments. I'll probably try and get 10 to 20% of each of them. And then on DraftKings in 150 max setting, I think I'm going to even include Guillermo Hernangomez, Willie Hernangomez in my pool, not Bo Cruz. not that Hernangomez, just because he's 3K and an insane point per minute producer. So if this is a blowout, or if JV's in foul trouble or something occurs and he gets 18 minutes, 23 minutes, he could put up 30 fantasy points. And if that happens, you get him in a lineup instead of Aldama, and that's how you can win a tournament. So that's someone I'll include 3 to 5% of in my pool.
You partook in the expert survey today, as did myself. And the player I wrote up as ambitious tournament play, contrarian take, however you want to say it, is Jonas Valanciunas. If you like yourself some variance, he can play 20 minutes, he can play 24, he can play possibly 28, 29. When he's on the court, he is awesome. 1.17 Fanduel points per minute, 1.22 DK. Yes, the pace is bad as far as facing Dallas, but they are the worst rebounding team in basketball, the worst. As far as percentage-wise, I can pull that up here, and they're even worse with the absence of Kleber, the absence of Wood. They're even smaller, rebounding just 46.2% of their rebounding chances, second worst in the league, right behind Brooklyn. In the last 10 games on the season, they are the worst rebounding team. Again, I understand fewer possessions, fewer shots, fewer rebounding opportunities, but the rebounding opportunities are there. We got a chance for Valanciunas to really, again. The key is he's got to stay on the court, and it's certainly possible that, like you said, Hernangomez can play 15 minutes. He could play 3 minutes. He could play 0 minutes tonight, and it wouldn't shock me. But like you said, that is the ultimate boom buster. I don't think I'm playing him. I'm very confident I'm not playing him unless he's starting for whatever reason. Jackson Hayes is another guy they can dust off to get some run. Of course, you've seen Nance do his thing. I just think that
if you land on Nance, if you land on Trey Murphy, I don't know if producer Steve still realizes he has Willie Hernangomez up on the screen, but he can take that one down now. If you land on any of these guys, that's fine. Herb Jones showed he has a good ceiling if he hits all of his shots and has a bunch of stocks. Trey Murphy is kind of fine for a value. Larry Nance has been playing super well in limited minutes. If you land on one of those guys as a last piece, don't blow up your lineup, but they aren't necessarily targets for me.
Herb Jones was 6 for 8, 2 for 4 with 5 steals his last game. Good for him. Played 37 minutes. His price got for him. I'm happy. He's a nice guy. Very happy for him.
Not going to make fun of his name today.
No, is that what I was doing the other day? I was just asking if your name was Herbert, would you go to parties, right? Would you introduce yourself as, hi, my name is Herb, or hi, my name is Herbert? What would you go with? Or would you have an alias?
I went with Bert.
Bert doesn't make any sense.
C. Yeah, Herbert.
Oh.
It's in the name. It's more than half the name.
What? Well, why don't you call yourself
Herbert? And I would just take out the her and just go with Bert.
Is that, if anybody says their name is Bert, is it probably the origin story is Herbert?
I don't know. Maybe. I bet not all of them, but maybe a couple of them.
Are there people actually named Bert? Yeah, Bert and Ernie.
Albert.
No, but that's the origin of Bert, right? I think. I don't know. I think I would just go Albert or Al. I guess you can go Bert. You got some versatility.
I mean, if my name was Herbert, I would probably go by Al. Good call.
How?
Yeah, these Pelicans values are fine, and I think Valanciunas, Ingram, and McCollum all have very high upsides for tournaments.
I feel like I got to make a Twitter poll or something now. People, there are all sorts of random takes to drop in the chat. By the way, you're answering questions in chat, and I'm sure the chat people appreciate it. But you're multitasking. I was going to pull the questions, and I'm like, oh, TJ's already answered that. Oh, TJ's already answered that. So congratulations.
Still pull them. I just like to give the people their answers so they're not waiting as well. You know what I mean? Get them in there, and then we can, for the class, you got to make sure you re-ask the question for the class, because there's a good chance somebody else was thinking that same question, but there's not a good chance that somebody else is going to hit the like button for you. You're going to have to do that yourself. We got almost 400 people watching now. Hit that dang like button for us. Let's get us up to 100. It does wonders for us. It puts us up on the page. It recommends us to other people. We can't succeed without the like button, people. So we're giving you the plays so you can succeed, and we need the like button from you so that we can succeed too.
I should do Herb power rankings, because there's Herbie the Love Bug, and I'm very it's got to be Herbert. Herbie doesn't qualify, unfortunately. It's got to be famous Herberts, I think. What's the guy's name from Family Guy? The old guy that's into like wrong things? Isn't Herbert? I feel like it might be.
Yeah.
Do you watch the Family Guy?
Herbert the pervert.
Yeah, just I mean, you don't name yourself. Well, whatever. All right, we'll move on. Anything else?
Stop making fun of people's names who are in the chat, Dean. We're trying to get them to hit the like button.
Thumbs down for me. Sorry. Hey, Paul wants to know, J-Val, we just talked about him. J-Val or Zubac? We'll talk about Zubac in a second. I prefer the upside of J-Val personally. Who do you prefer?
I think I do too, although I do think Zubac has a nice level of upside to him as well. I would go with Zubac on Fanduel. I know this is a DraftKings question, but I'd go Zubac on Fanduel. He has a little bit more block upside, and then I would go with JV on DraftKings.
All right. Checking the old Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, let's see. Do we have any updates as far as who's in and who's out, or Kerr's taking his nap or something? Game time decision for Zaire Williams. That one's going to come down to the line. Halliburton, as of 2 minutes ago, says he's going to play. He's got that knee and an elbow. I think it's the elbow. It's more concern. Triple J is still doubtful. We're assuming he's not going to play. We're assuming he is out. All right. Golden State is in Denver. 232.5 is the total. They're playing.
Let's do Clippers Milwaukee first, and then just talk about Golden State till they get here, and hope we can get a shade of news.
Okay. I mean, you're more optimistic than I am, but I hear you. It makes sense. Clippers Bucks 231 is the total. If you're in the Milwaukee area, as of like an hour ago, you can get in this game for less than $4 before they hit you with all the fees, and it'll be like, I don't know, $38 out the door. Enjoy yourself a game in Milwaukee. 9 o'clock local time. Outrageous, but that's what you do for national TV games. 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Milwaukee is a 4-point favorite here. Giannis Antetokounmpo, we've kind of touched on him and comparing him to Luka. Paul George, Kawhi, they're both good to go as far as the Clippers. Well, like Kawhi, he's officially back as far as, I think he scored, 25 points in like 12 consecutive games now. Been on fire, been spectacular, but he was like 6K on FanDuel. Remember that? Pepperidge Farm numbers. Yeah, that wasn't that long.
You're a big family guy today.
You want to hear what's grinding my gears? We'll have time later on in the show, I'm sure.
I'm into going to the comic book conventions and stuff like that. You should cosplay as Peter Griffin.
Oh, what are you saying when you say that?
I'm just saying you're talking about grinding his gears. There you go.
Why can't I cosplay as Quagmire? I can't be Quagmire.
You haven't quoted Quagmire yet.
Giggity, giggity. There you go. Most of his quotes I can't give. And there's producer Steve.
Stop implying that I'm insinuating.
All right, you take it away. Milwaukee and Clippers, take it wherever you want to go.
So yeah, in case anyone has forgotten, Kawhi Leonard is very, very good at basketball. So he's very much in play. I love him as a contrarian GPP option today. We're projecting him for 1% ownership on DraftKings. I love that. I'm going to try and get at least 10. Paul George, I think is a good play as well, but even more so on FanDuel where he's only 8,300. He's picking up the ownership, but I think he deserves to. I love the stars and scrubs approach and gambling on the cheap value for Golden State today on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, they've had such tight pricing all year, but lately they've started having some pretty big misprices. And so I don't hate the idea of on FanDuel just going with the mid-range approach today, fading the studs and focusing my build around, LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine, Paul George. If I were playing FanDuel today, that would probably be kind of my single entry approach, is just go with these chalky misprices and then finding one or two ways to differentiate in my lineup.
If I feel like playing, just want to throw this in, I'm sorry, but if you're playing one of Kawhi or George, I feel like, I don't know if I have a rule in it, but I feel like I really want to play Giannis. Am I playing one of those two on LA? Do you agree with that thought? It's tougher because of salary.
Yes. Yes. That is something I'm going to be trying to do. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut. You're on a roll.
Actually, no. Like, I do think Paul George at that price tag could succeed. But I actually think if I'm playing Giannis, I want to run it back with one of these guys because Giannis reaching his ceiling means that the Clippers have kept this close. And if the Clippers have kept this close, that means that Paul George or Kawhi Leonard have had a good game. And so, whereas vice versa, if the Clippers blow out the Bucks, I mean, the Clippers guys could still score without having Giannis doing well in that scenario. So I feel more like it's going to be more likely for me to pair a Clipper player when I'm playing Giannis as opposed to vice versa. But it's just going to be Kawhi, Paul George, and Zubats in tournaments for me. I'm not playing any other Clippers. Not going to mess around with, unless the Golden State news doesn't go my way, then I'm going to get a stupidly uncomfortable amount of Clippers. I'm going to be playing Reggie Jackson. I'm going to be playing a little Terrence Mann. I'm going to play Nicholas Batum. Players that I don't want to be playing, but I'm going to have to if this Golden State news doesn't break my way. But that's just the stand I'm taking today because it's the value, the potential value is so much better than anything we have right now that I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope. And if it doesn't go my way, then we do still have these fallback options that, hey, maybe they could still go my way anyways. So that's kind of where I stand on the Clippers. On the Milwaukee side of things, I think Drew Holiday is somewhat interesting for tournaments. He's going to be in my pool 8,300 just because he's nice and cheap. But I'm still not super fond in this matchup. And then it's $7,700 on DraftKings, on FanDuel. I'm a lot more interested in him, and I think he fits that potential mid-range build that we were talking about. I really like Brook Lopez for tournaments. I think he's a phenomenal tournament play today. I'm more interested in Pat Connaughton than I have been in weeks, and that's because Pat Connaughton has been $4,500 and 30% owned on every slate. Now he's $500, $600 more, and nobody's playing him at all. So while I still don't love Pat Connaughton as a play, I'd way rather play 1% owned Pat Connaughton as opposed to 30% owned Pat Connaughton, even if he's $600 more expensive.
Aldama likely to draw a start if Triple J does not play. Triple J, of course. Jaren Jackson Jr. currently doubtful. At what point would you consider Middleton? He's down to 5K on DK. I think he's 6K on FanDuel. I wouldn't play him there. 5K on DK. Most minutes we've seen so far in a while has been 20. Still coming off the bench. He's not been great as far as efficiency. 25% usage, though, is pretty good. True shooting, 51%, not great. 1.09 DK, 1.05 fantasy points away on FanDuel, so that's fine. I don't know. Or am I just – I'm trying to make fetch happen here at Middleton and just kind of wait. I want to get ahead of it, but it says that tonight's the night he plays 26 minutes. But I guess it's possible. No?
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be – I don't think they're going to be in any rush, you know? If I'm choosing between Chris Middleton and Gordon Hayward, I'm picking Gordon Hayward.
But you might be scrambling if things go awry as far as the Warriors. But I guess you don't want to – if you get a bunch of Middleton, it's probably because things didn't go according to plan for Golden State for you. Anything else you want to say, or shall we talk about Golden State and Denver? We've kind of sort of talked about them in generalities throughout the show, but we got to get to it. Crunch time crew on about 5-10 minutes or so. We got plenty of time to knock this out. It's a big if-then bonanza, right, as far as this game. We don't really know. Back half of back-to-back, Golden State 12-point underdogs, so the market really thinks that Curry is not going to play. He's officially questionable with his shoulder, and Draymond's got a foot, and he's questionable. Wiggins is not on the injury report, and Clay is out. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Denver is they have Aaron Gordon, who's questionable. My thought process is like maybe Denver is waiting for Golden State, and if like those guys are all out, then maybe they give Gordon a night off. We'll see. They don't necessarily need him, but run through the 19 different scenarios and combinations as far as the Warriors. Have at it. Enjoy it. Go for it.
I am. So, first scenario. They're out. This is how I'm playing it. Steph Curry, Draymond Green are not playing. I am going to pretend that they are already ruled out, and I'm going to get an absolute ton of Jordan Poole and an absolute ton of Dante DiVincenzo. I'm going to get near 100% of Ty Jerome. I'm going to get quite a bit of Jonathan Kuminga, a little bit of JaMychal Green. I'll pass it back to you here because my wife just walked in the door.
No worries. I saw a question in chat. I just thought it was worth addressing it. I know we're not talking about because we mentioned before that Pat Bev is going to be drawing the start for the Lakers. And I see several people talking about Beverly. Like he's one of those guys where if this stuff opens up on Golden State, right, you're not going to want to be locked in on Pat Bev and his 18 points, whatever, for 4.5K. You know, there's no chance. It's a 7:00 game. There's like no chance I'm playing Pat Bev. Zero. Besides the fact he's a bad play, he's also taking the spot of a spot that may open up and be spectacular to the conversation that TJ is having as far as Ty Jerome. I'm pulling up the what if, the if that. I wonder how many scenarios we have laid out here for Golden State. So, yeah, if Steph and Draymond are out, become a strong 45-point DK projection. Jerome at basically the floor, 25 DK points. So you're going to be so mad at yourself if you lock in Pat Bev and he puts up 18 points or even puts up 21, like good for him, makes an extra 3. Then all of a sudden it's Ty Jerome season and like he's going to outscore him raw points, forgetting even the fact that he's distinctly cheaper. So no chance I'm playing Pat Bev. Just the upside is not even close to the potential downside, how this can go if the Golden State stuff goes a certain way. Did I give you enough time, TJ?
Oh, yeah. I actually only needed like 2 total seconds. Then they were already gone. But you sounded great. I didn't want to cut you off. So assuming everybody is out here, I'm going to get nearly 100% of Ty Jerome, probably about 60 to 70% Jordan Poole, 40 to 50% Dante DiVincenzo, 30-ish% Kuminga, sprinkling in Kevin Looney, JaMychal Green, maybe even James Wiseman. Now, if all these guys are in, obviously I'm going to have to make some pivots, but the reason I'm prioritizing this right now is just because this potential value is so much better than anything else that we currently have on the slate. So I'm willing to take that risk. In terms of the lineup HQ groups that I would set, assuming all of these guys are out, I'm going to put a rule of max 1 Green, Wiseman, Looney, Lamb, debating putting Kuminga in that pool. Not really sure if I want to, but I think I would probably put Kuminga in there as well. And then I'm not going to restrict Andrew Wiggins and Dante DiVincenzo and Ty Jerome and Jordan Poole because I'm perfectly okay playing those guys together. Those are good point per minute producers. These are guys that are going to put up good fantasy scores. Whereas they're guys that I think are going to play high minutes. Whereas I don't know which of those ones are going to play high minutes. And I think only one of them will. If we end up getting 28-30 from Looney, well, then I don't think that Lamb or Kuminga are going to be playing very many minutes at all. But if Looney plays 21 minutes, then I think that probably means one of those guys off the bench played a ton of minutes. And so I want to set a rule that I'm only going to have one of the bigs. But in terms of the guards, Poole, Jerome, DiVincenzo, I'm not going to restrict it. Because of how much exposure I'm going to have to these guys, I don't have to make any minimum rules. Like I want to get at least one of them. But if you weren't getting near 100% of a guy like Jerome, like I was, I'd probably make a rule that I want to get at least one of Poole and Jerome, and maybe at least 2 of Poole, Jerome, DiVincenzo, and Wiggins. But as it stands right now, I don't have any rules like that because I'm going to be getting a ton of them. I just have the players per team rule. Where I want to get at least 2 Golden State Warriors in every single lineup I'm building.
Eugene asks, is Jerome a lock as of right now? No, absolutely not. But we think it's more likely than not that shenanigans are abound if we trust the markets.
If you're playing this as I think Curry is going to be out, then I think it is reasonable. Like, and then you guess correct. I would probably want 100% Ty Jerome.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, would you call him a lock right now? Like, I lock to me means lock. So no, like right now we're projecting him for 9 minutes and 6 points. Now that
so I know. I'm just trying to like just in case, like we're misinterpreting this. Like, so if Steph Curry is out, I think Jerome is close to a lock, if not a lock, but at least like an 80%er. If Steph Curry is in, you probably want 0% Ty Jerome.
Yeah. And is it possible they would start Moody? Is that who knows? We'll see how it goes, I guess.
Even if they do, I don't care. I'd want to get a little bit of Moody, but Jerome is still going to be the guy that I want.
Anything else going on in chat? Well, it is just at least worth noting, like in the off chance, and we don't think this is going to happen. But what if these Warriors actually play? Nobody's playing Steph Curry. Like, it's just not happening. Like, nobody's playing him. Just throwing it out there. I think it's like a kind of a bad play, like math wise, but ownership wise, you're gonna get him like a 2% if he happens to go. Because
math wise, I mean, Steph never looks that good of a play because he's such a high variance player. It's just, is he going to hit a ton of threes today or not? And so we know he's got as high of a ceiling as anybody else. So yeah, if he happens to be in, then I'll look at some of my lineups with Giannis or Kawhi and probably try and just mix in a little bit of Steph in those lineups instead. Because I will have so many Warriors in that lineup anyways. I'll have the spots to pivot, and then I'll just find the lineups that I have Giannis and LA players so that I would have the salary to pivot, and I would just probably try and make it so I can get about 5% of them.
Jamie says, what about rostering Giannis? And if Steph is in, swapping to him, single-digit ownership. There's a couple things, different positions, different salary. You're probably doing a 2v2 or something like that there.
Definitely don't make that straight swap.
Yeah.
But if it can help you upgrade another position, yeah, go for it.
And I would also add, where are you at? How is your team done? The Milwaukee game is being played at 10 o'clock, and the Golden State game is being played at 9 o'clock. If your team's not doing great, then absolutely, because if you have Giannis and everybody has Giannis, he could put up 1,000 points theoretically, and you're still not going to win because if everybody else has them,
the reason I wouldn't worry about that is just because everybody's not going to have Giannis. And so, like, you're pivoting off of somebody who's going to be 10 to 15% owned. Who, like, it's not like you're pivoting off a 40% owned play to get a 2% owned play. You're pivoting off a 10% owned play to get a 2% owned play. So, I would have to have a significant upgrade at another position, regardless of how good my team is.
Yeah, and Craig's reiterating, the point we're talking about. Vegas knows these things. The line has been up there for a while. Earlier in the day, when all these cues came out, it went down to like 10.5, I think 10, and now it's back to 12. So Denver is a 12-point favorite. If you think that these guys are actually playing, then you know what? Take all your DFS money out and just bet it all on Golden State plus 12, because then you're in a really, really good position. That's probably not going to happen, though. That's why I think they're not playing. Also because all indications last night is they weren't playing. And like you said, there's optics. The optics just look bad, right, TJ? They got guys have injuries. But, like, come on. All along, this was the plan to rest them. And they played overtime last night as well. Yeah, we should be getting the crunch time, guys. Will and Andre and Roth as well momentarily. Right on cue. There is Roth. There is Will. There is Andre. Look at producer Steve all over it. What's up, boys? Roth, Andre, Will, how are things?
2 thumbs up, homie.
I'm good. What's going on?
What's
Dre,
up?
I miss you, man.
Miss you guys too, man. Got to get on a couple shows hopefully this month.
It's been too long. We were doing like 3 shows a week together back in December, and now I never get to see you anymore. But one quick more point on Steph Curry, just to really hammer home what you were just saying, Dean. He played 42 minutes in overtime last night. He hasn't played a back-to-back. He's played 1 back-to-back since coming back from his injury, but their last back-to-back he didn't play. I feel confident in my strategy of playing it like he's out and getting a ton of Ty Jerome today. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's how I'm rolling it.
I hope we did a good job covering that. It's my least favorite analysis of just like, here's a bunch of if-then scenarios, but this is the association, and this is what's kind of what we have to deal with. We don't have to deal with it any longer, though, TJ. Unless you got anything else, the boys will let them handle it. Anything for the Crunch Time crew? I know you gave your, you're basically saying, Andre, you got to FaceTime me, say hello. I'm lonely. It's been a while. Did I do something wrong? But
You're creating the same HR disaster that put the gap between us, Dean. Now we're finally back together. You're trying to put it between me and Dre. Not going to stand for it.
I just like to stir things up for no particular reason.
And I mean, Will, I really miss you too, man. Let's do some food for thought, something like that. But I was just saying, because Dre and I had we were just doing it seemed like daily shows together for a while.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you miss Andre and how much did you miss Will? If you can do that for us before we leave.
I miss both of them 11, and I miss Dean -6.
Roth, take it away. We got to go.
Good stuff, as always, guys, and welcome to it. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, and the show is famous for having some of the sharpest minds in the biz helping to break down the content here. We got the Chief with us. So what up, Chief?
What's going on? How's everybody? Happy to be here.
I'm glad to hear that, man. You're a little quiet in the intro. I didn't know if you were just figuring out the slate or what.
Look, I'm working, man. Things are happening. Things are shifting. I got my screens up, putting in lineups, putting in, prize pick stuff on my phone. I'm working.
That's what I like to hear, man. We're on that grind, and you're putting in the work so that we can get some other people some winners, and I love that. And then we got Dre as well coming through. What's happening, Dre?
Not much, hanging in there myself, doing the same thing, grinding it out with some prize picks. Prize picks is where it's at, You got to get up on that for real. No one's on it by now. But yeah, and then placing some bets and getting ready for make my lineups now.
Okay. I think we have a RotoGrinders promotion with prize picks as well. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we do. If our producer knows and can drop the link, please do. But make sure you're checking out all our promotions. If you're ever signing up for new sites, we probably have a promotion for it that can get you some free money. So make sure you're doing that. Boys, let's talk about this slate a wee bit here. Who of you wants to be Andy Means? I mean, nobody wants to be Andy Means, but in the context of this slate, who wants to be our cash analyst?
I don't mind. I'll be cash, but I'll talk.
Thanks, Dre.
There we go. There was an awkward pause. I thought no one was going to take that. Excellent. Well then, Dre, if you don't mind giving me a little breakdown of this slate of what we can expect, what we're waiting for, and then you can just dive into kind of a FanDuel cash build for us.
Can I say one thing real quick, Roth? Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Steve, I need you to queue up the GIF with the guy putting the two fingers and disappearing, because Dre's doing that the whole time. I need you to cue that up. So after he's done his analysis, you plug that thing in. That's going to make this whole show.
Dre, yeah, you're kind of fading in and out, but that's all right. We can hear you just fine, and there's no internet issues, so it's all good. So what's up with this slate, Dre? Kind of walk me through it if maybe I wasn't paying attention all day.
Okay, so got a plus. I always say that this is a habit, but but anyway, it's a crazy little slate that we have going on because we have a lot of news on the back end that's going to really affect this stuff when it comes to Golden State. I think that's really, really, really important here. But for right now, on FanDuel at least, the core plays that Notorious has up, which I kind of agree with for the most part, is LaMelo Ball. He's too cheap at 8,700. I think that's someone you can easily get into your cash channels for sure today. Jordan Poole as well. I know he's coming at lower ownership, but we already got the ruling of Klay Thompson being out. So I think he's someone that you can definitely lock in today and use today as well. And then if we go over to the shooting guard position here, there's a number of different guys you could go with here on the spot, but I think a guy like Paul George at 8,300 is getting 23% ownership. It's going to be popular, along with Zach LaVine at 7,400, could be 43% owned, is popular as well. And then we see Tyler Hero a little bit further down at 6.4K. I think those guys are definitely a cash game guys to go with. I don't mind even a pivot a little bit off of those guys in tournaments on a guy like maybe Jamal Murray here. And even Jalen Brunson in a matchup against my Miami Heat, who struggled at guarding 3-point line and have done that forever. Let's go to the forward spots here. We just got news that LeBron James is playing. So I don't know how much his ownership is going to go up, but at that 10-7 price is in between. Like if you put small forward and power forward together, he's definitely between obviously Giannis and AD. But AD to me is 9-7 against a front court like Indiana, who gives up a lot on the rebound wise. He could have a field day here, so he's someone I think you should play in tournaments definitely. Cash, I kind of like him for cash, but I think we're gonna obviously wait for that Memphis news as well. But I think Jaren Jackson's out since they already said he was doubtful, so I would plug in Amendola, I believe his name is. I would plug him in. Is he a small forward, power forward? Or he is center. I think he's center, right? Steve,
Don't ask me.
right now. See,
Aldama. Yeah,
Aldama. Yeah, he's power forward. Okay, for some reason he's not coming up on my end for some reason, but I'd like him a lot today. You gotta lock him in as far as when you're playing cash today. That's without a doubt for sure. Then you want to get someone from the Cleveland game because you want to attack that front court. So a guy like Jared Allen, I think is good, or Evan Mobley, but more so Jared Allen being 34% owned would be the cash game guy to go with over there too. And let's move it over to the center position where we can go with pretty much anyone you like here. Tillman's given a lot of ownership because they think he's going to start, but I think this front court, not having a lot of bodies, he's going to have to play at least 20, 22, 24 minutes, maybe a little bit more. So I think Tillman is also a good play. He's going to be very popular as well. Should be in cash. Jared Allen could rotate, obviously, as a center too, so he could mix it up in there as well. And Vucevic is it's a third option here, ownership wise, and a great matchup against the Charlotte front court that you definitely want to try to target in tournaments.
Okay, quick question here from Did the Spidey Bombs Hit Yesterday? He says, can you ask the guys their thoughts on Halliburton tonight? You got any interest in Halliburton?
I do a little bit, but I'm only making a few lineups, so I'm not gonna be able to get him in my lineups, unfortunately. Karis LeVert just got ruled out.
Yeah.
So kind of you're gonna want to play one of these guards now. Probably Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland.
Donovan Mitchell's 8K, man.
Yeah, you gotta play Donovan Mitchell. He's gonna be more squarely in play now. That makes this game actually more interesting because it could, actually not really, because it's going to still be a blowout, in my opinion. But but back to the Halliburton point, I like Halliburton, especially if you're running it back. Only if you're running it back with like a LeBron or AD. That's the only way I'm playing Halliburton today. Okay. I like a mini game stack of that.
Okay, so as far as this news with LeVert out, are you now making Donovan Mitchell like a core player in your lineup? Is he now like leaping the priority list? Where does he stand?
See, for me personally, because I'm a tournament guy, no. 8-3 is a cheap price, and on DK he is on DK is 8-1, so he's gonna I could let him burn me if he chooses to, but. Like, he hasn't had the same explosive amount of games that he's had towards the beginning of the season when he first got to Cleveland. So, and there's a lot of other guys I like, a lot of other game environments I like, and also a lot of news on the back end that I rather wait for than take my shot here early, unless we get that news before 7:30.
Gotcha. So he's a fine play. You got no issues with it, but you're not like rearranging everything to get him in.
He's a great play, but I'm not changing nothing in my lineups personally to get to him.
Okay, very good. Good stuff. Let's talk tournaments real quick. And in order to do so, kick it over to Chief. You want to walk through the news that just happened, Chief, or would you rather just kind of go through an entire build and talk to me about what your plan is?
No, I think that's important enough news, which Karis LeVert was questionable. So it's not like we didn't have some idea, but I will say Donovan Mitchell at 8K. I think he's squarely in play now. Like I know Ricky Rubio is back and all these guys, but LeVert does soak up some usage, and Mitchell, I do think Garland is 8K, Mitchell's 8-3, but I still like Mitchell here in this spot. Definitely feels like a spot where he could go 45 plus. So I like his fantasy point upside. I do want to circle back to this Lakers game. For tournaments, I'm really into Anthony Davis tonight at 9,700. Coming back, starting to pick up where he left off. And what I mean by that is this: we haven't seen the big explosive games, but I mean, they played Boston and they played the Knicks out of the past 2 games. But look at what he did against San Antonio in 26 minutes. That was a 48-point fantasy performance. And this Indian matchup is maybe better than the San Antonio matchup. And so if he plays 30 minutes here, now that we've seen he's back in the mid-30s, I mean, this feels like an AD 60 spot to me. So I really like Anthony Davis here for tournaments. Very low ownership right now, around 10%, 9.7K. Feels like a really good price to me. And I don't dislike LeBron either, but if you ask me for tournaments right now, I do like AD.
And that's if LeBron is in or out. You don't care, like LeBron.
Yeah, I think he's
in.
I think he's officially in.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, in or out, as you've already asked me. I'm still, if I had to choose between 2 tonight, I'm taking AD. But that's me.
Gotcha.
Taking the $1,000 discount for the massive upside in this spot. In terms of which I kind of already talked about, but I do like Donovan Mitchell in this spot against the Grizzlies. They are at home, which should help. And so I like them a ton. You've got Alderma, you've got Xavier Tillman. You can play those guys. I do think a sneaky guy tonight in tournaments is Zach LaVine. They're playing the Charlotte Hornets. He's 7,400. Now, what I mean by sneaky is we've got him projected for pretty high ownership, and it might feel like a cash play, but I'm saying I think he's got sneaky 50-point upside tonight because of the matchup with the Hornets. That's really what I'm saying here. So I like that a ton. So here's my this isn't really a tournament take, or it's not going to feel like a tournament take, but I think it's going to end up being a tournament take because of the spot. I don't think people are playing Luka Doncic tonight.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how often, and it doesn't happen as often as you think. Like usually Luka's at least pushing 10%, 12%. When you look at FanDuel tonight, at least at the projected ownership, Luka's around 5%. Like that, to me, that's too low for this slate. I know we have Giannis on the slate. I know we have Ja on the slate, AD, LeBron. Like I know we have guys, but this guy has probably been the most consistent fantasy point producer, which is why he warrants the $12K price tag. Like, no matter what this guy's producing. And so I think Luka's a little bit I think he's a tournament play tonight. And so I'm not saying I would go lock button, but I'm thinking if I'm building 150 lineups here, I think you got to get close to 30, 40%. Like that, it's just way too low into ownership projections for his upside. Like if he goes off for 75 tonight on this slate, you might need him. You might. I'm not saying you will, but it's going to be close. Jokic is on the slate as well. Like I think he's big for tournaments tonight, where he's around 5%. Like if you notice what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing tonight. These lower percentage owned guys that have all the upside, just give them both to me. I'll figure out the rest later. And so that's how I'm going to be approaching tournaments tonight.
Okay, and do you think we have the value here? Like I haven't heard a lot of 3K, 3.5 guys getting thrown around. Like, do we have the value to fit in Luka's and Giannis's and Jokic's?
I think you do. So what's going to happen is people are going to play Santi Aldama, right? And then the next piece of news that's going to drop is the Golden State guys are going to sit. Okay. And so when Draymond Green's ruled out, or it might not be all of them. It might just be Draymond and Curry, or it could just be Curry. But you get what I'm saying. One of them sits, and now you've got access to DiVincenzo, Kuminga, Lamb, Ty Jerome. Like that's what's going to open it up back in.
Very good. Okay. Anything else you want to add here as you kind of look at FanDuel in general, or you want to hold off until DK for some other plays?
I'm good. I think we can go to DK.
Okay, very good. Well, let's kick it over to DK. And if you don't mind, Dre, kind of walk us through the build on DK. Walk us through a full build, and if there's anything really different from FanDuel, then we'll talk about that as well.
All right, on this site, like I always say this when I've been saying it a lot lately, but you see this guy, if we go to Notorious, he has his core plays up.
Mm-hmm.
You see that guy, that first guy over there, my guy from my team, Jimmy Butler, 7.4K.
Yeah.
You go to the lock button and you lock that in tonight. That's too cheap for Jimmy Butler in this spot without Victor Oladipo. I think he's a great tournament play, or even a great or in a great cash play today. So to me, I think he's one of the first people you want to get into your lineups. Santi Aldama is too cheap over here at 3.2K at the power forward position. I think that's someone you definitely need to get into your lineups today. Like I said, because I don't think, because we know Jaren Jackson's pretty much not playing at this point. So at 3.2K, you can play him at the power forward position, and have Jimmy Butler there as well. Everything else is going to be, like I said, up in the air with that Golden State news. That really is honestly holding up everything on this slate for me personally, but also for this. Also, I think a little bit in cash too, which I think you should be ready to pivot, because the more room you have to pivot, the better off you'll be. But that Cleveland news does change things a lot too as well. So with that Cleveland news of those guys being out, Darius Garland is 7.8K. You could he's a fine cash play. Jared Allen is 6.3K, another good cash play here today. Donovan Mitchell's 8.1. 8.1 is still a great cash play as well too. I wouldn't play all of them together. I would play maybe one or two of them, probably at most two, in a lineup. But I think that they are excellent cash plays today. And then I guess I'm going a little bit game by game in a way.
That's fine.
But I also do kind of like as a game stack, if you want to use in cash. I know cash is more so about getting obviously the great plays and ownership wise and good plays in one lineup, but I wouldn't mind even one game as a game stack for cash plays, and that's that Charlotte-Chicago game, because of the high total and the pace that they're going to be playing at. It's a big boost to Chicago, even though it's in Chicago. Even though Charlotte is traveling to Chicago, Charlotte wants to really get the ball, push the ball up. I know LaMelo's price is expensive, but you go with a guy like Terry Rozier, who's 7.3K. Here in this spot as well, who I think is good. I know it's hard to find value, so Patrick Williams is also another good guy. I think you could kind of use as value in tournament, your cash games, if you're unless you're holding out for these Golden State guys. But if you don't want to wait, I think Patrick Williams in this game environment is really, really, really good. On the Charlotte side, it's not going to be an one, like I said, besides Terry Rozier. And I talked to you about Jimmy Butler, who I like a lot today. It's like that Dallas, like Chief is right. That Dallas game, no one's going to own Luka. It's just tough to get to him today. 12.3 is expensive, but he can also go off and have this massive game. He is obviously, you see the RG value as a smash percentage play here. He's going to be low owned, but he is still a fine cash play, because if he goes for 75, 80 fantasy points, you're going to need him just to even double or triple your money in cash.
Yeah.
Jokic is just a fantastic one as well. Another same situation as well. Jamal Murray, also a good one at 7.7K. Coming up a little bit, but still low enough. Jordan Poole, I think it's pretty decent too as well in cash. And I'm gonna say it even though I don't think it's a good cash play, even though I think it's a borderline cash play, but Kawhi Leonard is back. He is back. Like I know 9.8 is expensive, but I think he's still a fine tournament, and he's an excellent tournament play and fine cash play, and I love running it back on the other side. I think that's great today in this spot. You might need him on the slate, because we saw what he did last slate. I think he's fully back and capable of doing that again here in this spot. So I don't mind taking some shots on Kawhi in cash, and also definitely in tournaments. Tyler Hero's obviously another one that's going to be a priority. Now that we know that Victor Oladipo's out, it helps him scoring wise as well. And Giannis also a little bit cheaper than Luka, going a little bit under the radar, but I think he's a good cash play. I think all these superstars up top are good cash plays. It's just more so about where you're able to get them and what your lineups are looking like, honestly, on the slate. It just depends.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the guard spot here, because there are a few guys like Jerome and Poole that look like great values if the news breaks right. Are these guys who, if the news breaks the right way, you have to have them, so you're making sure you save a spot for both of them?
See, I'm not high. I'm personally not high on Ty Jerome like that. I will let him burn me because more times than not, he's not going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
But in cash, if you're trying to get up to those superstars and those big name players, like I mentioned, like Luka, like Giannis, or even Jokic tonight, and Kawhi, you're going to need a guy like Ty Jerome. So he's fine. He can, and especially in the matchup against Denver, he can give you that 20 to 25 points that you need, and possibly run and possibly give you that position where you can get a guy like Jokic or Luka, where they can, if the news comes out in that time frame, where they can have that upside gaming and have that and give you not a winning lineup, but I guess a double or tripling cash value lineup.
Sure. But you're only playing those guys if Steph is out, correct? You're not playing Poole or Ty Jerome if Steph is in.
I think Poole is different. Poole you have to play, I think, regardless, because Poole's in play. Even though he's on a slump right now, I think he's going to play regardless just because he's better to start a lineup, and we got Klay Thompson out. So
play out. You play him, period. Yeah.
Okay.
You play him. It's just more so Ty Jerome. That's the
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Good stuff. Let's switch it on over to some GPPs here for DK. So, Chief, kind of walk me through what's different, or just walk me through a full build if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm still going to be on AD tonight just because I like him a ton. I'm still going to be on Donovan Mitchell. I do think Santi Alderman, and I mean the projections agree, the ownership agrees, like he's even more valuable on DK where he's already 3,200 right out of the gate. So I think that's a guy that you just go ahead and plug in. Like I think that's what you do. He talked about Jimmy at 7,400. Like it's a cash play, but it's also a tournament play. Like I don't have to sell you. I'm not about the lock button. I don't mind the lock button on any of these guys when they're priced like this. So I like him a ton. I like Vooch a ton on DK at 8,900. I think he's got a ton of double upside here. So I'm a little bit more in the Vooch on DK than FanDuel. And let me just say, Zach LaVine on FanDuel to me is the equivalent of Jimmy Butler on DK. If everybody can kind of make that little connection, like they're just mispriced. So 7,400 for LaVine, like he shouldn't be that cheap against Charlotte, and Jimmy shouldn't be 7,400. So just think about it like that: LaVine on FanDuel, Jimmy on DK, and then I'm still taking the same approach. You notice on DK we've got Luka pushed up to about 11%. And then Jokic is at 15%. Giannis is around 15 as well. So you notice the stars are a little bit bumped up. And I totally understand because of how you build on DK. We got Jordan Poole at 6,500 on DK, which we need to be playing him anyway. I think we just kind of had that discussion. But then Ty Jerome, man, sitting here at 3K on DK, where if Curry's out, Draymond's out, like that's going to open it up where Kuminga's going to be 3,700. I know we talked about that, but on DK, I think Golden State is going to be even more necessary if some of these guys sit because they're pretty much all about min price. Where on FanDuel, Kuminga's a little bit more above min, where he's 4,400, so forth and so on. So just pay attention to that news. I don't think you can let me say lock those spots up completely because we're not sure about the news, and there aren't a lot of 3 and 4K pivots. So I don't feel great about it. So I think for me, I would maybe plug in Kuminga because I trust Kuminga a little bit more than Ty Jerome straight up. Like Kuminga's still going to get a few minutes if things don't break your way. So I would maybe plug him in. I know his minutes have been down here recently, and Lamb is may get a couple minutes, but that's kind of how I would play it in the event that nobody sits that we have. Just plug Kuminga, and then you can work your way down to Ty Jerome if you feel like that's how it's going to work. I do really like Jamal Murray on DK tonight at 7,700. As long as this game is competitive, man, Jamal Murray has been back for a while now, it seems. And what I like is the scoring. Like he's starting to hit that 25 points a game type scoring, like real points. And so when you've got that going now, he's starting to hit that 40, 45, 48-point ceiling. So I like Jamal Murray quite a bit on DK where he's under 8K. Dre talked about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi's over Tay on Fanduel, and that's still fine. On DK, he's 9,800. I like it a lot better. So I definitely think Kawhi is in the conversation. And now that that's come up, I did mean to mention this, and I'm so sorry I didn't do it for the Fanduel build. Paul George, I think, is 8,100 on Fanduel. And I meant to mention that there's a big gap on Fanduel and DK. So kind of like Levine, I think you take your shots on Paul George on Fanduel. But I'm that wraps me up for my tournament stuff.
Okay. Good stuff, guys. Real quick, I do have to note you were just kind of jumping back to FanDuel, and I will take that opportunity, if I can pull this up, to say, stalling for time. Hey, make sure that you're signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $3K. Also, the FanDuel Single Entry Series happening. It's sponsored by RotoGrinders. It is back. Reserve your spot in the Thursday NBA Block Contest. $3 to enter. Your chance to win 1.5K. And then in the FanDuel Single Entry Series, if you do well in the series, you get bonus cash thrown on top of you. So it is a very good thing to make sure that you are entering every single night. Guys, let's get to some QQs. We've got about 6 minutes left. And as always, pulling up the old RG Discord right now. And I'm scrolling up just a wee bit to Yankee Man saying, and by the way, let's kind of play this where if it's a GPP question, Chief, you take it. Does that work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. DK GPP from Yankee Man. Can we play Braun and AD in a game stack? Can you squeeze them both in?
Yeah, you can. You can. That's going to be very different as well.
Okay. FanDuel GPP from Mike. He says, who is your must-play super stud? Gun to your head. Freak, Joker, Luka, Braun. I think it's none of those guys. I think it's Luka? I thought it was going to be AD.
No. Oh, well, AD at 9,700, yes. But remember, I talked about the fact that Luka at 5% to me, like, play Luka. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess he did say super stud, right? So maybe that's like, maybe AD doesn't quite qualify there under 10K. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? DK GPP single entry. Any love for AD or Kawhi? I think you have love for both of them.
Absolutely. If you can get them both in, build around that, I'm cool.
Okay. NBA DFS says FanDuel Cash, Donovan Mitchell or Paul George. Dre, Mitchell or PG?
Cash, I'm going to go Mitchell.
Very good. Dre, you want Mathurin or Hero in a FanDuel GPP?
Yeah, Tyler Hero has played well against the Knicks in the past, so give me Tyler Hero.
Okay. Chief, FanDuel GPP, do you like A. Wiggins tonight with the Golden State situation?
Yeah, I like it. I think I would prefer to ensure that he's there, but like he's cheap enough on both sides to play him regardless.
Okay, very good. FanDuel single entry here, Chief. How many studs are you playing? Is it like one stud and an AD? Or just one stud?
FanDuel?
Yeah, this is FanDuel single entry. Also, am I just seeing Jalen Brunson out? Is that?
Oh, come on. Are you serious? I was just having in my lineup. No, don't.
I think you're getting two studs on FanDuel tonight. I think that's what you're doing.
Okay. So I'm seeing a bunch of people that saying that Brunson is out. So now are we just going to Randall? And who's the guard?
Quickly is in full effect. He has to be played now. Quickly is an excellent cash play. Yeah. Quickly. Randall. Those are the only two guys that would play. Or RJ Barrett for the ball handling.
This is crazy.
So this blows up everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is Quickly now does Quickly become one of the best plays on the slate?
He's gonna project really well because Miami has a problem with guards and 3-point shooting.
Oh, boy.
which is why I like Brunson honestly as a run back. Yeah.
And I'm
Randall,
too late to get entries in too, which is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Crap. I'm gonna have to back. I'm gonna have to do my lineups by hand now. Later on.
Okay, Chief. Anything you want to add? I know you're probably trying to swap a whole bunch of stuff around right now.
No. I think you get in quickly. He's definitely going to be in play right now. Like that, there's just no doubt about it. RJ's probably getting a bump. I think RJ quickly get a big bump here, and you just go from there.
Okay. Any interest in Randall? Like, does he move into that elite tier of spend ups?
Yeah, I don't hate it. At NK,
he hasn't played really well against Miami though, so that's why I'm personally hesitant on it.
But man,
but now he's the dude.
He's already taken like 20 plus shots, man. Like I think you at least take your shot. They're at home. I'm gonna give Randall a nod at home. If they were on the road, I'd be a little bit more concerned.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good stuff, guys. Back to some QQs here. I will kind of skip. It looks like we're at Paul Supple. He says, DK Cash, you want Butler and DiVincenzo or Hero and Wiggins?
Butler, DiVincenzo, or Hero and Wiggins. Gosh. On Fanduel?
This was DK Cash, Butler, DiVincenzo, or Hero Wiggy.
Crap, man. That's tough. I like Butler a lot, so I'm going to have to say Butler.
Okay. Very good. Jep says, DK GPP, you want Mitchell Butler or Giannis Kuminga?
DK GPP, Mitchell Butler
or Giannis Kuminga?
Mitchell Butler.
Very good. All right. FanDuel and Chief, I'm going to give this to you. Do you like any Bruce Brown and or MPJ?
They're just okay. I mean, I don't. They may not help you, but I don't think they'll hurt you. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, it does. Let's see. We got less than 2 minutes until lock. Make sure you're making all those adjustments and saving your space as you need. Eugene says Nance and Trey Murphy in the same cash lineup. Is that okay? Yay or nay?
I mean, it's fine. I'm going to do I would run it back though for sure. But yeah, it's fine.
Okay. But this was a cash question, so that was like a GPP take.
Yeah, but still, I would run it. I personally would. I just run back everything. That's me personally, but I think it's still fine. Yes.
All right. Your favorite spend up on the night, and it's Luka for Chief. So Dre, who's your favorite spend up?
Kawhi Leonard.
Ooh, very nice. All right, less than a minute until lock here. FanDuel cash question: Tillman Barrett or Jared Allen and Grimes?
Tillman Barrett, Jalen, who? Jared Allen and Grimes?
Correct.
First one.
Okay. Very good. Chief, can you play Hartenstein in a FanDuel GPP?
That's going to be very different tonight. He's 4K. I don't like it because he's center only. I'm going to say no.
Okay. Fair enough. With that, gentlemen, we have hit the lock. We got, let's see, we got a Jalen McDaniels last spot in cash question. Is it too late? Did that lock?
No, that's Charlotte. Yeah, I think that's fine. If it's a last spot, it's fine. I'm not a big fan of it though. Okay. What's the DK? What site is it? He didn't even say a site.
He didn't even say it. He just said cash. Jalen McDaniels last spot in cash.
Yeah, that kind of matters. The site. He's 5K on DK. I mean on FanDuel and 4.8 on DK. I mean he can have a good game here, but I'm not high on it. But there's other guys you can get in that price range, honestly.
Okay. FanDuel GPP from Scott. Do you like Quickly or Pool? That's a good question, or both. But I guess you have to.
Question.
You got to play one if you have to pick
both.
one.
if I had to pick one, it's probably Poole with no Clay. I think that's the direction I would go, but quickly should be fine tonight.
I mean, is the answer just both? Quickly and Poole?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you should play
That would
both,
be my
right?
answer, both. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Eugene says, thanks, y'all rock. That's true. We do. A couple questions, and then we'll bounce on out of here since it's post-lock. MT Red Sox says, is Joe Val a decent play in FanDuel tournaments, and does Okoro have enough upside in FanDuel GPPs?
I'm not playing Joe Val. I'm actually taking under his fantasy point prop on Prize Picks tonight. So I'm not into Joe Val here.
Okay. Any interest in Okoro?
I feel like I should. He's only 3,500 on DK. A sprinkle. That for me, that would be 7%.
All right, very good. DK GPP, Levine, DiVincenzo, or Porter quickly?
You can't do Levine quickly?
No.
Levine, DiVincenzo, Porter. Give me Levine, DiVincenzo.
Okay. Hey, good job with that. I hear children screaming, and that's my bat signal to bounce on out of here. So for Chief, for Dre, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.